Boa noite a todos, bem-vindos a mais um episódio de Histórias de Luz, onde temos hoje como convidado o Dorin. Eu vou só fazer uma pequena introdução em inglês e depois falo em português e em inglês, está bem? So welcome everyone to this new series of videos that I've been putting out during lockdown, basically, the last lockdown we had in Portugal. And today I actually have my first non-Portuguese photography as a guest, which is Dorin. So I will be introducing him in Portuguese and then I will introduce him in English, okay? But the whole interview will be done in English, of course. Ora bem, pessoal, o Dorin é alguém que eu conheci há mais de um ano atrás, no último Ciclos Fest em janeiro. Portanto, ele foi convidado lá, assim como eu, e por acaso falámos bastante, ficámos no mesmo hotel e até falámos bastante, trocámos muitas ideias. E desde então fomos falando, portanto era mais que esperado que ele fosse aparecer aqui, porque eu gosto muito do trabalho dele. E já agora, durante o vídeo, vamos falar um bocadinho do livro dele, que é este aqui que eu recebi há dias, ok? E ele acho que tem poucas cópias agora, mas vocês podem entrar em contacto com ele e tentarem ver se ele ainda tem cópias. Tem coisas muito fixes, pá, e acho que é uma inspiração para toda a gente que passar os olhinhos por estas páginas. Eu tenho estado a ver isto nestes últimos dias e tenho gostado muito. Ainda não acabei de ver o livro. Portanto, está aqui o e-mail dele em baixo e o site, podem ver e falar com ele para lhe pedir. Portanto, ele é da Roménia e tem feito um trabalho incrível a vários níveis. Portanto, fiquem aí para a entrevista. Só vos peço um bocadinho de desculpa porque vai ser toda em inglês. Não tive tempo de pôr legendas porque é uma hora a falar. E tenho estado ocupado com o trabalho, portanto não tenho tido tempo de pôr legenda. Espero que a maior parte de vocês consiga perceber. Entretanto, o meu inglês nos primeiros minutos da entrevista estava completamente off, porque foi uma entrevista que começou muito cedo e eu acho que ainda estava a acordar. Mas aguentem aí comigo um bocadinho, que eu passado 10 minutos estou a bombar, ou 15, está bem? Portanto, vou agora passar para o inglês e espero que gostem da entrevista. So guys, just coming back to the English, just to present a little bit of Dorin's background. So he's a landscape nature photographer from Romania. I actually met him last year in January during Ciclos Fest in Vozela here in Portugal. We chatted for a while and we've been talking since then. I really admire his work, and during the interview we'll be touching a little bit on his new book, which is this one. I got it a few days ago and I've been going through it, and it's actually a real pleasure to just go through some of his images. I think he might still have a few copies left, so I really encourage you to get in touch. All the contacts and emails and social media accounts, websites, they're all down in the description below. So please talk to him if you are interested in checking his book. So without any further delay, I'm just gonna say that the first 10 to 15 minutes, my English is completely all over the place. We started the interview early morning, so I think I was still starting my engine. So just bear with me for a few minutes and everything will be okay after that. So again, welcome and just enjoy the interview. So thank you very much for joining us today, Dorin. It's a pleasure to have you here, no doubt. We don't see each other for a long time, but I've been checking your work and it's very nice. I really like it, and that's why I invited you here.
Thank you.
I hope you are dealing well with this COVID thing. We are all coping somehow. Yeah.
But, I think we will manage it in the end.
Yeah. So I wanted to start by asking you just how did photography come to be in your life? So when was the first time you start making photography?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm really glad that we're doing this interview, and I really hope that your viewers will have a nice time watching us talking. So for me, photography started when I was at the university.
Mm-hmm.
maybe just before I finished university, I think. I borrowed the camera from my brother, and then I bought my own camera. And it was a period that coincided with me going into the mountains more. So I was probably 19, 20 years old. I started to go into the mountains, and I took the camera with me, and that's how it all started. But more so, I think I was probably, I'm guessing that I started doing photography not mainly because I was going into the mountains, but because I was looking for a way to discover myself in a way. Because I didn't have a career path. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I got a job, like a 9 to 5 job immediately after I finished the university, but that wasn't enough for me. So on a more personal side of things, I think photography was something I needed to be able to grow in a way. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I can relate to that, because when I finished university, then I actually took masters and a PhD, so I went a very long way on that road, and then I just turned the other way. But yeah, I mean, I think more than just photographing, it's basically a lifestyle. Yeah, so it's basically a way of being. And I guess we can see a lot of that in your work, because it's well, for what I see, you are really connected to what you do. It's not. I mean, it's very emotional, from what I can see. I'm not sure if you agree with me, but that's the message that comes through when I look at your work. Yeah.
I think it's I would say it's a bit more personal.
Yeah.
But in a way that's premeditated. And let me explain this. When I started photography, I was doing a lot of wide angle landscapes, and was in a way trying to learn by copying what others were doing. But as I gained more experience, I realized that it's more rewarding in a way to try to do something original, something personal, so something that belongs more to me than to the works I was getting inspired from.
Yes.
You know, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I mean, I think all start by trying to emulate what others do, and that's a good way of learning. So you start understanding how things come to be. But I think at a certain point we need to just leave that road and start doing our own stuff, and become a bit more personal. And I think, as you said, it's much more rewarding to do the things that way, because then, I mean, it's your photograph. It's not something that you've seen like 20 times. I mean, and in your work we can see a lot of that, because I mean, most of your images I don't recognize where it is, or even if I do, it's basically it's very different from what we usually see. Yeah.
You said at some point in earlier, you said an important word. You said emotional. You said that my images are in a way emotional, and it's something that I personally don't necessarily relate to, because when I'm out photographing, I'm very concentrated.
Yeah.
I'm very focused, and I treat my way of doing photography in a very rational and pragmatic way.
Okay.
And if it leads to some emotions from the viewers, it's something that I cannot control.
Okay.
To me, when I'm doing photography, it's a very intense activity. It's very deep work for me that requires a lot of focus, but it's not necessarily related to emotions. So
Okay.
that's I would say that's out of my control in a way. So
Okay.
emotions come from the viewers. So when viewers see the images, but me as a photographer, I just like to do this really laser focused work.
Okay. Okay.
So it's something that I'm trying to separate. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
separate emotions from the work in a way.
Okay. Okay. Because also maybe I'm the one emotional here, and when I look at your photographs, I start seeing stuff that maybe is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
me. Yeah, maybe that's the other way around. Yeah. So actually, before showing an image, I'm just going to say that this image is well, I have two images from this project of yours, which is Terra Silva, which I find it very interesting. Yeah. So I will show one image, and then I will ask you to actually well, we will talk about the image, and then you can talk a little bit about this project. Well, I could have chosen any other image. I've chosen this one because I have a lot of stuff that actually, yeah, emotional to me on this image again. Because I find this image very, well, it has emotion in, and those emotions in this image, at least for me, are a bit contradictory in the sense that, so first of all, I like all of the shapes, yeah, all of the lines, and then the colors of the image, which are warmer, yeah, it's like reds and oranges, so very energetic colors, and usually they bring nice vibes. But at the same time, then I like the lines, of course, and at the same time, when you look at the tree lines, at the tree line, you can see that the ones that are closer to the viewer are very close to what it seems to me to be like a cliff, and most of them are like decaying or dead. And for me, it was very interesting that you actually included this bit in the corner where you can see the roots, which I think that probably most people would just would exclude that. But it gives sense that they are close to an edge. So although you have a nice, vibrant, and warm colors, this corner of the image where you have decay and a cliff, it's kind of emotionally contradicting the rest of the image. I don't know if you agree with me, but this is just my view and interpretation of this one image.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and it's an interpretation that I couldn't have come up with, honestly, because in a way I don't interpret my images, I just make them.
Yeah.
So yeah, and every time I get an interpretation like you did, I discover something new.
Okay.
So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think this is an image made in just to do a little bit of a backstory of the image. It's an image I made in Patagonia,
Okay.
the Chilean side of Patagonia. So yeah, this was made in Chile in Torres del Paine.
Okay.
Torres del Paine National Park. And what attracted me here the most was the fact that you have snow on the cliffs behind,
Yeah.
on the slopes behind. You have snow, and that creates a pattern in the back. So an interplay between light and darker shades on the slopes. That was very appealing to me. So I guess it was something that attracted me first, and then I decided to include the trees just to have a relationship between two elements.
Yeah, and the fact of the snow and the mountains, it's actually what I saw when I looked at this. Actually, I was looking at them yesterday. I don't know if you noticed this, but the difference between the light areas and the dark areas in the mountains, you can actually mirror them in the trees, because the trunks that are decaying are lighter than the trunks that are alive, and it's all of that. I think it works very well together, and especially to me, I chose this image. The reason I chose this image was the fact that you included the little bit of the roots. That was very interesting to me because, I mean, I think most people would have excluded them.
Yeah, I think I thought about the image was made in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, so about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 5 years ago. And I think it was a decision based more on showing more of the trees because the slope was pretty inclined.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show more of the trees.
Yeah.
And it was something that I could have probably taken out.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think there's a good balance between the amount, so the surface of the trees and the trunks and that decaying part on the bottom right corner, and the slopes behind. So I think it balances, like surface-wise in the composition. I think they balance quite well here.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you want to talk us a little bit about this project, Terra Silva? I know that it's about photographing different forests around the world, and it's actually a very interesting project because, I mean, with all the deforestation we are seeing at the moment, it's a nice wake-up call because, I mean, they are really nice places to be and very important places ecologically. So can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so the project has a major component, which is artistic, of course. It's my own personal interpretation, but it also has a minor component that's related to the environment.
Yeah.
And actually, when I started working on the project, it happened in 2015. I did a trip to Scotland in Cairngorms National Park to photograph the Scots pines.
Mm-hmm.
These are some of the oldest pine trees found in Europe. And there are some patches that remain in Scotland, but most of the forest has been deforested over the centuries. And it was, I didn't necessarily intend to start the project there, but just go on a trip and see what I could find in Cairngorms. And I ended up photographing mainly trees. And after that, I talked to the guys at WWF, so World Wide Fund in Romania, and they thought it was a good idea to continue this project, and so I did. But it isn't like a project per se, but more. So I wouldn't say it's something that I plan year by year to photograph certain forests, but it's something that comes up with the trips I do during the photo tours, or ideas that I have for a certain area to go to, and then I can find a forest there. So it's not that structured as a project, but it's more like a series of images, and hopefully it will become a more structured project after my son Horia, which you met, grows up a little bit. And then I will have a bit more time for myself to go on certain trips to photograph particular forests.
Yeah.
And my plan for this year is to start to photograph all the types of forests found in Romania, so my home country. And afterwards, maybe go to some trips in Europe. And if I manage to secure some sponsorship, maybe go to more distant areas like, I don't know, New Zealand or Asia.
Okay.
We have very interesting forests. So mainly, just to conclude this, mainly it's an artistic project. It's something personal. So yeah, I hope I will finish it someday.
It looks like a very long-term project.
Yeah.
But and that's very nice. That's very nice.
And honestly, I don't want to end it. So yeah, that's a nice dog you have there. So yeah, I'm not planning on ending it. So maybe in a couple of years I will make a book, but it will be like a volume 1. So Terra Silva volume 1. And it's something that I'm planning on doing probably all my life, because you have so many forests throughout the world.
It's endless,
Yeah, yeah. So
It's
it's endless possibilities.
Yeah, that sounds really good, and we're looking forward to see that building up.
Yeah.
So one other image that I chose was this one. Let's see if I'm able to change image somehow. For some reason, it's not working, but this is the one.
Yeah.
This is it's kind of a famous image, I would say, because you got it was the winner of the category plants and fungi in GDT, right?
Yes, in 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an image that I really like, especially because lately I've been kind of doing stuff with trees as well, and more looking more with like relations between trees than just finding those special trees and just photographing them alone, which is also nice. But I more and more I can see that I mean, an image is more interesting when you try to find some kind of relationship between them. And here it seems that I mean, again, my interpretation of this, yeah, it's a very cold day, it seems. And the tree seems to be like leaning towards each other, like to get warm or something like that. So that's the feeling that I get from here. Do you want to talk us through the image a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So the image was made on that very first trip that started Terra Silva in Cairngorms, which we talked earlier about. And when I arrived there, I stayed in a mountain shelter, which in Scotland they call the mountain shelters bothy, I think. That's the local name for the mountain shelters. And I stayed there, and on the first and probably the second day, nothing happened. So it was no snow at all. This was happening in March. And then suddenly the temperatures dropped. We had a storm front coming in, and it started snowing. So it was snowing quite heavily. And I got out of the mountain shelters. I probably walked, I don't know, 100 meters or so. And I kept photographing. And at some point, I pulled out the flash of the camera.
Yeah.
So I used the flash to illuminate the snowflakes that were close to the lens.
Yeah.
And of course, there is this relationship between the two trees. They are like a couple.
Yeah.
Facing tough times. But I think the presence of the illuminated snowflakes brings an extra dimension to the image in a way. It gives depth.
Yeah, because these ones are very close to the lens, and then you can just go through.
Yes, it gives more depth. But at the same time, I don't know, they could probably symbolize something like an aura, something that relates to the resilience and grit of the trees.
Yeah.
So it can go like that.
It's a very nice image. I really like it.
Thank you.
And then you have other series of images on your website. One of them it's called North, which is actually from your book that I just ordered yesterday.
I will send it today to you.
So if you wanna, I don't know how many copies you still have left.
Yeah, probably around. I think I have around 30 copies, and and most of them have minor defects.
Okay.
So at first I didn't intend on selling them, but then I got messages and emails from people saying they want to buy the book, and I'll probably start selling them. Yeah.
So I will leave the link down below if you want to contact Dorin for the book, and it's worth it for sure. So before we go a bit deeper into the book and this project or series of images, we will see one of the images from the book.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first image that I chose, and again, I could have chosen any other image because I had a tough time choosing them yesterday. I chose this one for a very simple reason. So first, it's a very soft and very calm image. Even the wave has this, well, still has energy to it, but it's like soft in a way. Yeah. And on top of that, when I looked at this, what I really liked was the very nice, how can I say, mirror between the wave and the mountain behind. So they both look like waves. I'm not sure if you ever thought about this, or if you have actually made the picture because of that.
No, actually, no.
But when I saw this kind of a juxtaposition of the wave and the mountain, I really liked it, and like the very soft palette of colors. That's what basically talked to me, as well as a nice symmetry between the two mountains in the background.
Yes, yes.
So it's a very calm image and a very nice one.
Yeah.
Where was this made? It's Norway?
Yeah, this is Norway, and it actually, the image itself, it contrasts very much with the atmosphere I had there.
Yeah.
It was very windy and very cold. So so it's a bit of a long exposure, and you noticed, of course, you noticed the symmetry in the composition that attracted me at first on the mountain slope. And what I did here was to overexpose, just to bring out that softness and that lightness of the landscape.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm usually attracted to. It's a let's say technique, if you want to, where I expose quite a lot in order to simplify. So it's a very basic technique to simplify the composition.
Yeah,
so
it's a very high key image. Yeah.
Yes, it's very high key, and of course the snow helps with that. So the more snow you have, the more you're able to overexpose and ultimately simplify the images. So it's a type of landscape that I really like to work with.
Yeah, it's a very relaxing image. But again, it's interesting that you said that it's basically the opposite of what you felt at that moment. But maybe that kind of weather in these kind of places, maybe that calms you down.
And I had to shoot probably a few dozens frames because it was so windy that the tripod kept moving. And the images were slightly blurry.
Yeah, I mean, if you're slightly long exposures on that kind of weather, it's very likely that you need to bury the tripod on sand or something.
And one more thing I would like to say about the image is that it relates to my idea and my feelings of the North. So every time when I think about the northern landscape, Scandinavia, Iceland, and probably other places that I haven't been to yet, like, I don't know, Canada, Greenland, and so on, it's that simplicity of the landscape and the fact that you can look further away, so you can look into the distance, into a great distance. It's something that I really enjoy when I'm out there. It's something that really brings a lot of quietness.
So and this Nord, the series of images and the book. So you've been photographing this area of the globe for how long? And I'm mixing two questions.
10 years. Yes.
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
So and when did you know that it was time to basically go with the book? Like today?
So the book idea started about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So I had the book idea in mind. I knew I needed some more images of some particular subjects, and more or less I managed to do those in the last 2 years.
Okay.
So since I'm doing photo trips there, it's of course a bit easier for me to do some images when I'm out with the group, and because the trips up north, of course, they are quite expensive, and I couldn't afford going there. I don't know, monthly. That, so it's a bit of an advantage for me to be out there, and whenever I can, whenever I have the chance, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I can make some images that would complete the book. So the project started 2.5 years ago, and I actually started working on the layout and contacted the printing house to do the book. That was in October last year. So so the the book layout and the printing was done from roughly September, October till the December last year.
Okay. So it was a very fast process, actually.
Yeah. Because I needed what I wanted to do. So I already had a lot of the layout, so a lot of the pairing images, the spread. I already had that in my folder with all the images. So I knew where I wanted the book to go. So I knew the chapters and all that. So it was just a question of making the layout and all the technical aspects.
So you did it all yourself. So all the paging and pairing and everything was done by you.
Including the layout and the pre-press part for the printing and all that. I did by myself. Nice. And of course, the printing house contacted me, and I kept in touch with them asking for advice. So.
Good. Yeah. And now one more image from the book, which is, I think it's this one that it's very opposite to the first one, which I found very interesting. So it's basically very low key, very dark, and with just one. Well, actually, I think it has two spots of light, one here and one further away. And it's basically like, the north is also known for very dark winters. I'm not sure if this was in the winter or not, but I mean, it could be at any time of the year. So it's in a way also kind of an image that relates to that to me, because I lived in Norway for 4 years. So it kind of relates to me. I'm probably, this is not in Norway, it's probably the Faroe Islands. But in a way it relates to me because when we are in the winter in Scandinavia, sometimes it's like a month without seeing the sun. And like this small spot of light is like a little bit of hope that the sun is coming soon. So that's why I actually chose the image, because I relate to it a little bit. You want to talk to us about the image a little bit?
So the image was made in Faroe Islands, and it was made in August, so summertime. And it's just a simple technique of underexposing. So it's something basic that I did to simplify the image. And to me, when I saw this scene, I immediately did an interpretation of it, which I don't usually do. But to me, this spoke immediately as something primordial in a way, because you have all this water that it's part of our planet, the blue planet. The water brings life and surrounds the landscape. So I immediately went with this idea that it's something primordial, something that speaks about the history of our planet. So this is at least an interpretation that you can give.
I mean, you can check Dorin's website, because he has a lot of other images from Terra Silva North, and probably some series of images that we don't have time to cover all of them, because he has a few there. So please go there and check him out, because he has very nice stuff going on there. We might go to his website even today if we have the time. But now I want to take Dorin a little bit back home. Oh, not this one. Wait a second. Because this is in his home country, Romania. I really fancy these images from this series. It's very nice, and again, you have a nice you have very nice images here, but you also have, like the one before, a lot of a contrast in between the image in a way that some of them are like this, so very dramatic, and some of them are very peaceful as well, like very calm, very simple. This one, I mean, it's what attracted me, because I like this kind of environment, like when the clouds are moving fast, or the sun rises and stuff starts lifting, and all the humidity starts, I mean, doing its stuff, and the light just passing through gets that soft glow. And here, especially because you have all the blue areas in the shadow areas, which are amazing when you contrast with the yellow from the light. So this is in Romania. Do you photograph your home country more than you photograph outside? Have you been doing it more lately than before? What about this image? What actually made you stop and do this image?
So statistically speaking, I think I have more images made in Romania, of course, because it's where I can go into the mountains quite easily. And this particular image is from a series called Grit. And it's a subject that I started photographing when I started photography, actually.
Okay.
So it's something that I kept doing. And these are spruce trees.
Yes.
So it's spruce. And what is very interesting about these trees is that they grow on these high alpine plateaus, but they grow just a little bit higher than the regular tree line.
Mm-hmm.
So the regular tree line, the upper limit of the tree line in Romania goes to about 1800 meters.
Okay.
And these can go above 1800 meters.
Okay.
So to me, they show, just like the image we talked about, made in Cairngorms National Park, they show about the resilience of the trees, and the resilience of nature, and the power it has to restore itself.
Yeah.
So it was made with this message in mind.
Yeah.
This series called Grit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very harsh environment. So very cold. It's actually amazing how trees can actually do it so high and so cold. It's, I mean, especially because they spend a lot of time covered in snow, so that even if there is light, they don't even catch the light because they are under the snow. So it's actually very interesting how they can cope with this kind of temperatures, lack of light, and high altitude. So it's very interesting. And then, this one is basically, again, a very. I think you have a lot of this in the series of images. You have a lot of images that are very dramatic, and then sometimes something like this shows up, which is like very, very calm and very soft. I'm not sure if you do this for any kind of reason. There are days that you are more leaning towards these kinds of images than others. It's just what happens when you are out. I mean, do you have any explanation for these big contrasts? Because I'm just asking because, at least for me, I'm more on the side of the low key images than on the high key. So I like more contrast and more deep shadows. To be honest, I don't know exactly why. So it's okay if you don't have an answer to this, because I don't have one for mine. But it would be interesting to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so the conditions here are quite similar to the conditions on the previous image. So just low clouds passing by.
Yeah.
And it's something that I honestly adapt to. So I don't think about it too much. If I see something that's simple and attracts my view, then I photograph it. But in a way, like you said, me personally, I'm leaning more towards light images, simpler images. And it's probably because I actually thought about that for quite some time. It's probably because in my mind, so psychologically speaking, I'm trying to get some, some quietness, some peace.
Yeah.
It's probably a way, a desperate try, if you a desperate try to make peace with my inner demons, because we all have that.
Yeah.
And I think photography for the most of us acts like some sort of therapy, if you want to.
Yeah.
When we go outside, when we are focused on doing photography, and more so by seeking this simplicity, I think it brings some extra peace of mind. So of course, going to the mountains and staying there for a few days, it's perfect for the spirit and the mind. But I think I usually try to go the extra mile when it comes to my peace of mind, and trying to do simpler images. So that might be a reason.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I have the same feeling as you are saying. I mean, when I'm out in the mountains, especially when I'm alone, because if I go with a friend or and we stay there for 1 night or 2 nights, I mean, it's still nice, but it's not exactly the same. If you are alone, which I mean, sometimes I say people, I don't recommend them to go alone into the mountains. I mean, it's not a very responsible thing to do, but it feels very good when you are alone in the mountains, and I mean, it's especially because there is no one there, especially in this for example, here in the national park, especially in the days that I like to go there, when the weather is very dynamic, or it's like raining and sunny and low cloud coverage. Especially in those days, it's very unlikely that you find anyone around. I mean, every time I went alone, I think I found once one person. So it's nice to be out. There is and for example, now I went there the other day, and I mean, I basically was just hearing the water and the birds, and nothing is happening. I mean, it's so nice. Basically, it's very nice, and then I'm not sure if I try to balance that quietness with my more low-key images. Maybe that's kind of the way. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a nice place to be actually, and of course it's a therapy. Because I think I've also went. I mean, I'm a marine biologist in my academic background, and I actually stayed away from I live by the ocean, and I went to the mountains. And I think that comes from the fact that I lived in Norway. And when I came to Portugal, I looked for something similar, I guess. And it's very nice. It's very nice, and it's for sure. After my PhD, it was a therapy.
I have a question for you. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
Extrovert.
So you consider yourself an extrovert, and although you consider yourself an extrovert, you still seek quiet time by yourself.
I need the balance.
Nice. It's interesting.
I need the balance. I like to be. I mean, when I moved in with Diana in the beginning, she found it very strange that sometimes I would like to invite 10 people for dinner. But now she also likes it. But after that, I need to be alone. I need high and low. So maybe that's why I like contrast. I'm not sure. It's true. I think I'm an extrovert because I like to talk, and I like to be with people, and I like to be out. So
I think that brings some explanations on the type of photography that we enjoy more.
Yeah. I think there is always a reflection, because what you put in is what you have within, basically. Yeah. And I think
me myself, I'm an introvert by nature.
Yeah.
But I also seek relationships and communication, because I know that's the number one factor that brings happiness on the long term.
Yeah.
For the human species. I mean, we need interaction and communication and all that. So yeah, it's something that I always look forward to. But I'm more on the introvert side, if I were to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you're an extrovert, but you still prefer a quiet time, and it's
I really need to have both, actually.
Yeah.
Now, since we have a little bit more time, I would like to go to your website, and this is a few images that I wanted to talk to you about. You are seeing your website at the moment, right?
Yes.
Because I would like to talk about this with you, with this series of images. I didn't start with them because I think they are a bit, as you said, this is more like, it's more similar to what I like personally.
Uh-huh.
So these images are a bit more low key in general.
Yeah.
So it's called Light and Space, and you say it's a bit of a fascination with clouds, and it's exactly the same thing I feel, because I really like to go out when this kind of weather is going on, and this basically contrasts a little bit with the rest of your work. I'm not sure if that's a correct statement, if I'm looking at it in the correct way, but it feels like it's a bit more dramatic than the rest. Do you want to talk a little bit about this? About this series of images in general?
Yeah, sure. I think so. My personal view on this is that this series also tries to seek simplicity, like this image, for example.
Yeah.
It's also very simple, but at the same time, I like a bit of diversity in my own work.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do just black and white images or just high key images.
Yeah.
I need to try various things. I had on my previous version of the website, I had a series dedicated to flowers, and I'm still photographing flowers. Actually, I still like to photograph flowers, and I just like to bring diversity, because I think diversity brings a lot more challenges.
Yes.
And when you have more challenges as a photographer, like it is with the case of both of us, when you have more challenges, you have more room for improvement.
Yes.
Your own photography. So it's something that I look for consciously, in a way. So I think that might be an explanation.
Okay. Yeah, that's true, because actually at the moment I'm starting to do two different things. One of them is actually going back to the ocean and start photographing the ocean to have a little bit of variety, as well as starting doing a bit of macro photography, which is something I haven't done ever. So, and it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And also photographing woodland at night.
Nice.
So it's like a bit, photographing woodland at night, it's very weird, I have to say, and it's scary, very scary. It's very uncomfortable, I would say. Although it's probably more scarier to be around in a city at night than being in a forest at night. But I mean, the kind of feeling that you get about being out and about in a woodland, like with very ancient oaks, completely twisted, and all of every single sound you hear at night in a woodland.
Yeah.
It's very, the first time I tried to do this, it was very strange, because I couldn't do anything. I was just looking around, trying to figure out all of the sounds. And then when you're pointing your flashlight around, all the shadows that it makes, Jesus Christ. But it's very interesting. Yeah, I hope soon enough I can start bringing some images out. But at least to start with, as you say, it's very challenging because it's new, and when it's new, I mean, at least for the majority of time, all of the images are, at least for me, crap. I mean, you are just trying, yeah, you're just experimenting and trying new stuff, and exactly, there is a lot of room for improvement, as you said, and it helps us to grow basically as well. So it's nice to have variety and try different stuff basically. Yeah.
Yes. And I think you said the magic word. You said uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So if something makes you uncomfortable, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're on the right track.
Yeah, it's true, because I mean, it's usually people usually run away from it because it's easier to just keep doing what you know how to do, and it's very like systematic. Yeah. But it's also good to just move away from that. Yeah, move away and start doing new stuff. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting that I mean, in our situation, when this is our basically job, if we keep doing the same thing, we are not going anywhere. We need to just do like different stuff and try to have our heads above the crowd. Otherwise, it's impossible to do something new and exciting, basically. And in the beginning, during the interview, you were saying that you do photo tours or photo trips and workshops. How, well, because this is also related to my job. How did you feel, or how did this whole situation that we are living right now impacted that? Well, I know the answer.
So at first, when the pandemic hit and all of Europe entered in a state of emergency, I felt a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So a lot of anxiety because I knew that my job is basically done for the year. I cannot do photo tours. Although I went to Faroe Islands, I managed to do that. So I did one photo tour since the pandemic started. But at the same time, it gave me room for doing something else.
Yeah.
So this is when I had more time to make the book.
Yeah.
And I also started to do some web design. My website is something that I built on my own. So it was something interesting for me because I could be at home with my family, but keep working on something.
Yeah.
I did the web design, and I also started to run a little bit more. So I do, in the last 2 years, I did quite a lot of trail running. So it's a different way to experience nature.
Yes.
And for me at the moment, it's equally fun as photography is. So in a way, I think the last year and this year also allow me to, in a way, to redefine myself.
Yeah.
By making the book, by doing other activities that could potentially in the future bring some income.
Yeah.
By doing the running, which of course helps a lot. It's also very rewarding, for the mind and spirit to be out there and running.
Yeah.
So it was anxiety at first, but then it offered a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That would be my conclusion of what happened so far.
Adapt, it's the word.
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise, we are completely screwed. But yeah, that's good that you find ways of managing with and coping with all of these situations. And in the future, well, in actually, just before going forward, well, I also had a few stuff planned. I actually was going to do my first photo tour out of Portugal to Norway. but I just decided to, but this year in September, but I just decided to just postpone it to 2022 because it's still very uncertain. And people booking and then trying to reschedule and not, it's a mess. Because at the moment I have two photo workshops that were completely booked that I'm still trying to rebook. So it's a lot of, it's very messy. So I just prefer to let it pass and try to do stuff online. So that's the way I adapt, like trying to give photography education online, which is actually working pretty well right now. I was not sure if it would work, but it's working, so that's good. That's good. So if you want to check out the photo trips from Dorin, the link is also down below.
Yeah,
he goes to more exotic places than I go, but
yeah, I mean it's Norway, it's Iceland, it's Islands, it's
so nice places. And in the future, you have any projects that are not, if you are allowed to talk about that, of course, that are not on your website? You have something new like cooking or under the hood? If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
I'm planning on continuing Terra Silva, just like I told you, doing it in the next 2-3 years in a more structured way.
Yeah,
that's something that I have to put quite some work in, because I want to secure some sponsorships also that would allow me to travel. So it's also a lot of bureaucratic work if you want to be able to do it. So I'm going to focus my energy on doing that. I'm also planning on visiting my home country a little bit more, just to do like some road trips to see some places that I haven't seen so far.
Yeah.
Because Romania is quite diverse in terms of landscape. So you have plains, you have mountains, you have wetlands also, which are quite important for the biodiversity here. And I also have a trail running project. I'm trying to run the longest mountain range in Romania. So it's 84 kilometers in length, and it has a altitude gain of 6,000 meters.
6,000?
Yeah, 6,000 meters. And I'm trying to do it in under 24 hours. So that's something, it's something that brings me joy at the moment. And I feel a lot of excitement doing that. And I just try to go with the flow, you know. I mean, if something brings excitement and I look forward to doing it, then I think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, 84 kilometers, it's fine, but 6,000 meters of altitude gain, it's not fine.
I already did the range trekking, so I did it in 5 days. It's really spectacular, and really a lot of the images in the Light and Space gallery are made in that mountain range. Yeah, so it's quite spectacular just to be out there trekking and doing photography. So it's nice to.
It's nice, it's very nice. So Dorin, we are getting to the end. It was very, very nice having you here. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me.
Yes.
And I hope everybody is also enjoying the conversation. I'm sure we will talk more in the future. And it was very nice. I'm just anxious to get the book home and just spend some time looking at it, because it looks really good. It looks really good, and it's going to be, for sure, it's going to be a few evenings just going through it and getting some inspiration from there.
I look forward to getting some feedback from you.
Yeah, I will give you that. No worries. No worries. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for me.
Very much for me also. Thank you for inviting me.
You're more than welcome. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.